This is our first episode of Around the Gridiron. We're just going to talk ball. I don't think we have anything too crazy planned. We'll just see where this leads us.
Yeah, looking forward to it. At least we got a lot of football news coming out the last couple days to, give us some interesting discussions for sure.
Yeah, so I think we'll kick it off. We'll do a little intro. I'll let Austin go first. You got a pretty good resume there.
Yeah, so I'm Austin Pfenninger. Let's see, I walked on football team at the University of Miami. Ended up becoming a letterman at a wide receiver. Owned a sports agency for about 4 years now, so definitely seen the ins and outs of the industry, both from a player's perspective and then on the business side of things. And I think just bring a unique perspective, to these conversations for sure. So,
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you, man. Even though you decided not to go to Valpo where I played.
tough decision.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. And I think there's a couple things I really don't like, and I know we've talked about this about some of the media that's out there. It's hard to find guys that have played.
Yep.
It's hard to find guys that know the business. And so here you are, both. So I'm kind of stoked. You're better than 90% of what I read on Twitter every day.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, I had to learn the game. I'm 5'7", 175 on a good day, and best 40 ever was a 4.6. So didn't get to where I did off my, God-given size and athleticism, but had to learn the game and, learn X's and O's. And I think that's really set me up for, what I'm doing now and, being able to have these conversations as well. Just really kind of understanding all the nuances with, what goes into, being a football player.
Yeah, man. I think, and so I want to dive in there too. So I ran a 4.6.
Nice.
I was a little bigger. I was 6'2", 250.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, but to get to a 4.6 took a lot of speed work, a lot of training, a lot of I don't know, making sure you're reaching back towards your hip and all the little techniques. They're
Mhm.
giving you have guys, you have clients. Like, let's kind of talk about the combine and some of those guys, the pressure that they are under to run a good 40 or do anything like that.
Yeah, the combine, just wrapped up, and it was great being able to be in person again after having a hiatus last year. And um, it's a great time. Just if anyone is involved in the sport of football, whether you are a podcaster or an agent or trainer or media or just want to break into some job in the world of football, there's really no better event for you to go to than the combine. Everyone who's works in the industry, is doing something goes, and great networking event. So, to start off with that, highly recommend any young person that wants to be involved, with the NFL in some type of capacity, one way or the other. From a player's perspective or an agent's perspective, I think it's definitely much more overblown than what it really is. I think it's really become more of a media spectacle, and that's what they're trying to get it into more and more the next couple of years. There's talks that it may end up going to Dallas or may end up moving to Los Angeles and prime time and really just caring about, the on-field testing, which everyone gets excited for. And that's important, but, I would say probably 75-ish, give or take percent of a player's resume is his game film. That's the most important thing. You can either play or you can't. The next most important thing is, with the combine, the great thing about it is the hospital system is right there. That's what originally what it was for, was to find out, hey, do these guys have any underlying issues we need to worry about? Is he going to pass the medicals, or is something going to be flagged and be an issue, 2-3 years down the road, after we've invested all this money? And then it's just a great way for them to be able to interview with all 32 teams, depending on the interest, and, a quick and efficient manner. So really the interviews and the medical portion is where players will make or break themselves much more than their testing. Now, there's definitely guys who can shoot up if they run an unexpected 40, or shoot down if they run an unexpected 40 or something else too. It's more so used as a confirmation tool. Kind of everybody has a kind of projected range that they're supposed to fall in based off of their film, or based off of a lot of these players now are running 40s for teams in the spring as juniors or sophomores during the pro days for the older guys. So a lot of teams already kind of have a baseline on what they expect. So it's more so just confirming, that those numbers are accurate. And, if you blow those numbers out of the water, yeah, you're going to move up. But a lot of guys, you may run a blazing fast 40. It doesn't really change your draft stock if you were expected to run that from the get-go.
Right.
So I think the whole underwear Olympics piece of it is blown way out of proportion, but it's what the fans like, and it's what's bringing in money for the NFL and NFL Network. So, as a business person, I definitely understand them wanting to tap into, as much potential media exposure as possible.
Yeah, no, I get that. And it was funny. A little bit of Twitter controversy stirred up as I was talking Tariq Woolen, which, to your point,
he killed it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people knew from the Senior Bowl he was gonna, run pretty
Mm-hmm.
quick. I mean, this guy's like a state champion runner in Texas in high school. So,
Yep.
I was pounding the table for him, and had a few people come at me like, oh, blah, blah, but I don't know. To your point, I don't think he moved up from being a late round guy. I think he's still a late round guy. I think people still have questions about whether or not he could play, but I mean, he's a freak athlete by no stretch.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone takes a flyer on him like in the third or fourth. And he was a guy that I really liked in the preseason, kind of hearing who he was, about his transfer from receiver, or converting from receiver to corner. And, there's been some other, pretty good player like Sam Shields comes to mind, and some of Miami guy that he ended up carving out a nice NFL career. Kind of not quite the same size as him, but still an athletic freak, and was able to translate those skills to DB. And if you're 6'4", long arms, and running in the 4.2 range, someone's going to take a flyer on you, in my opinion. They'll be able to, if you're a good coaching staff, if you believe in your coaches, then you should take a flyer on a guy like that, because, I think the sky's the limit on what you could mold him into if you can make the most out of him.
Yeah. So I got a few questions here. I'm just trying to keep us, I don't know, not on any specific agenda, but so you're an agent. You've got some guys that are probably going to be late round guys, or, free agent guys. Maybe not advice you would give them, but if you were in their shoes, do you sit around and watch the draft and wait for your name to get called, or do you just kind of go do your thing and wait for your agent to give you a call and let you know you've been picked or something like that?
I think for me, just being a football fan growing up my whole life, is always fun just to watch the draft. And so, I definitely wasn't able or good enough to test those types of waters. So it's hard to exactly put myself in that, a player or client shoes in that perspective. I think certainly, if you're projected to be a late round guy or free agent, I think day 3, you certainly want to pay attention and kind of see who's going where. The first 2 days probably don't need to be glued to your TV, but I think it's still important to be informed. Now, obviously, the agent has to stay on top of that. And, I'm keeping track all 3 days, who's going where. We'll have our preferred destinations, 4 or 5 teams, should a player go undrafted, that, hey, if one of these teams calls, or we can work out a deal with one of these for a free agent signing, that's, we'll jump at an opportunity, since it's, a favorable position to maybe make a 53 or stick around on a practice squad. So that's definitely the agent's job. The player, you don't want to get too stressed out, but at the same time, you don't want to be in the dark on what's going on. So I think it is important just to, obviously make yourself available, have your phone line free, have your agent kind of on speed dial. And, but, watching or not watching, it's not going to really change, where they go. But I think it just to know that, hey, if some team does call them and they're not prepared, they may not know that, hey, they drafted your position a round or 2 ago, if you kind of were just messing around all day and not at least, keeping up to date on your end.
See, I'm totally different. I feel like if someone told me like, Nate, you're going to be a 7th round guy, like, sit tight, I'd just, I don't know, hit the gym, hang out, like see some buddies, do whatever, and then let my phone tell me like, oh, you got drafted. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I get wanting to kind of check out and not be too worried about it, but I think at the same time, you only go through it once, and it's a lot of money on the line. I think, just you don't want to risk missing a call either, though, or agreeing to something with a team without consulting with your agent first, and then it's like, oh wow, I didn't realize what their setup was, because I was kind of checked out all day.
I would love that. Like, hey, you've got 3 missed calls from the, I don't know, Arizona Cardinals.
I'm sure it happens. Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard stories, but it wouldn't surprise me, the least bit. Or, I have heard like guys would get like prank called by friends sometimes during the draft. And like, that's rough. Yeah.
That's brutal.
So I actually had a case a couple of years ago where, a team called me said, "Hey, let your guy know we're picking him with our next." They had, I think, 2 or 3 picks in the 7th round. So they called me at the very end of the 6th and said, "Hey, we're going to pick him with our next pick. Like, make sure he's ready." Call my guy, like, let him know, like, "Hey, like, this is what they said. Just have your phone ready in case you get a call," and ends up going undrafted. So stuff like
Oh,
that happens too, and can't really trust the word from a lot of teams, unfortunately. And that's just kind of, it's a business, and they see a better opportunity in their eyes, they're going to take it, and that's just how it goes.
makes sense. I mean, that's a crappy way to do business, but
Right. Yeah. But you definitely learn that very quickly, when you're dealing with a league like the NFL. So.
yeah. All right, let's do a little pivot here. We won't necessarily talk football per se, but we will
Mhm.
talk football. You've played, I've played. We watch TV. Why does football take 3 hours? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, could be work, could be like baseball. So, but yeah, I do think I remember a couple of years ago. I don't know the exact number, so I'll have to be fact checked on this. But I think an actual football game was like 10 or something minutes of actual like playing time, like give or take in that range, where they're actually like within a play. So I mean, it's the money is the main answer, and that's kind of what it all boils down to in any um, basically any conversation you want to have about the NFL. It all boils down to the money and the TV dollars they can squeeze out. So I do think, yeah, it is too long. I mean, I think they could definitely cut that down, but I don't see them doing it just
Right,
because
right.
they have a shorter season, at least as far as weeks, compared to the NBA or MLB. So they got to squeeze every dollar out of that they can, and that comes with advertising on the broadcast. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on that, or any ways to maybe speed the game up? Or
I don't know about speeding it up. I just always thought it was interesting. Like, even in college, you go play and you leave and you look at the clock and you're like, that took 4 hours. Like I don't.
right?
It never feels like it. I guess. Especially too sometimes. I mean, you take those long bus trips to get to a game, and
Oh
you're
yeah,
you're
that's
like, oh
you're
man, this
exhausted before you even get there.
yeah. You're like, this bus trip was 4 hours and this game is 4, but they feel different. It's like a weird. I don't know. I
It's hard to be on your as a player, it's hard to be on your feet that long too. I mean, that's even if you're, like, not getting hit, just standing around, that's exhausting and makes you sore, let alone going through an entire football game, and, it's basically like a car accident every single play.
Yeah. I don't think I really felt how long football games were until I wasn't playing, and when I got to
Right, once you're
college
in the
and
stands, oh, yeah, and it's just like, "Oh, man, like, this can we just get along with it and
yeah,
get out of here?" And,
or
I
even
think
my
that's
freshman year, it's like I didn't play and I'm just standing there watching the game and I'm like, "I wonder what I'm gonna do tonight," like, I was just so bored, like,
right.
trying to stay focused, but I'm just like, "Am I gonna play? Am I gonna, get some reps?" Then a few weeks later, it's like, "Hey, we're gonna get you some reps this game," and now all of a sudden you're, like, locked in and 3 or 4 plays feel like they take forever, but, it's a weird sport, I think,
Yeah,
um,
I mean, I think it's the greatest sport in the world, but, yeah, it's different than anything else, and,
yeah.
um
Yeah, to your point, I mean, car accident for sure on those collisions, but it's like 15 seconds can be a touchdown drive. What I think we just saw that, right? Was it Kansas City in that
yeah,
overtime against the Bills? Like for the game taking 3 hours and 15 seconds, you can get a touchdown. It's just like
right.
it's nuts. Yeah, so I want to do that. I want to also, what other questions? I have some goofy ones here. I just kind of want to have some fun. All right, here's a question for you. Little baseball crossover. So in baseball, managers sometimes wear a uniform, right?
Yeah, I think that's, like, the weirdest thing, man.
All right, all right. So I was gonna say, like, do you think it would be weird if a football coach came out in like a jersey,
That'd be kind of badass, I think, if, Mike Vrabel comes out in, like, shoulder pad, like he looks the part, or
or
even if
does
someone
he
like
wear shoulder pads out there?
he could.
Oh yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
think
Oh, I got what you're saying.
no,
I
I'm
got what
saying if he did come out, like, in
you're saying.
something
Yeah.
like that, I think that'd be, hilarious, but or even just wearing, like, a jersey, I'd love to
Oh
see
yeah.
that. I think that'd be funny too.
Who?
And I
Who
don't
would
get
be
the
the
whole like
worst coach? Who would be the worst? Like, who would be like the goofiest coach to come out like
Andy Reid might be one of them.
like full
He's
shoulder
like,
pads and just
yeah, he's funny. I don't know if you've seen the picture or clips. He won like the punt, pass, and kick when he
yeah,
was like a kid, and like he's a foot taller than like the kids next to him. He's like looks like a grown man at that time, and
I loved it. Yeah,
um,
you're right. It was huge.
yeah, he's a
Yeah,
funny guy.
Vrabel still looks like he could play. I'm trying
Yeah,
to think.
I want to mess with him still at this.
I'd love to see Belichick just like growly, like all sour, wearing like shoulder pads and
Yeah, I love his outfit, like the cutoff hoodie, and I mean, there's a guy that can afford anything in the world he wants, and just dresses like a scrub all the time. I love
yeah,
that. I love that look, and I think it's always funny. Like in basketball, like a lot of coaches will wear like the full suits, and
yeah,
it's like that has to be just so hot, like wearing that. And I remember when I was at Miami, our first coach, Al Golden, he wear the shirt and tie look, from that he took from Joe Pa when because Golden played at Penn State. But then like in South Florida, he's just white
sweating through
shirt
it,
and it's like
right?
yeah, sweats completely through it. It's like man, like we're sponsored by at the time it was Nike, then we moved to Adidas. It's like they make some pretty nice like dry fit stuff that you can wear instead during a game. And for me, I just want to be comfortable. I don't get some guys who just like dress up or wear like the sweater vest or things like that. It's just
Yeah,
not for me, man.
go all out. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of the switch from Nike to Adidas, so Valpo when I got there, we were Russell, and we switched.
Oh yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know, because you're doing your thing and you went to an Adidas school, but is Nike better than Adidas?
I think in some cases, I think overall their quality was a little better. So when we didn't get much product from Nike when I was at Miami, because I mean I was kind of we had some down years and we weren't what we used to be. So I mean like
Yeah.
Ohio State and Oregon and I think like Texas, those schools kind of became more like the flagship programs and um, so we didn't get much from them. I mean I like the designs, like everything was pretty solid from them. When we switched to Adidas, they made us like a priority. We were getting new stuff constantly, like they were trying new designs. So I think they had a lot of cool things, and I liked a good amount of the stuff that they made. The problem with Adidas was their sizing was so inconsistent. I'd have a pair of medium pants that would just be streamlined and fit perfect, and then I'd have another medium sweatpants that fit like a 2XL. So there was like really just no rhyme or reason on like the sizing for their stuff, and maybe that just comes with being like a European brand. But I did like Adidas. I mean, I think they did a good job with us, and I wasn't one of the people that like I just wanted more gear. I didn't really care, what the logo was as much as long as it wasn't like a Russell or
Yeah.
something like that. But Nike or Adidas, I didn't really care, who it was, between those two at least.
Yeah, I remember getting there and I saw the guys wearing Russell, and I was just kind of like, "What the hell is that?" I'm
Yeah.
not putting on Russell, but
I
luckily,
remember wasn't I know some teams were New Balance for a while. I think like UConn might have been for a bit,
yeah,
and then was Georgia Tech Russell for a long time, or were
Georgia
they
Tech
New?
was Russell for a long
Okay,
time.
yeah. And
Uh,
I mean, they moved pretty late too in the game compared
Super
to
late.
like,
I think they're
uh,
Under Armour now, or maybe they're Adidas. Maybe Adidas. I
mhm.
also looked at, just looking at the 1AA schools, I looked at Maine, and
Oh yeah,
they were New Balance back
huh?
then, and I was just like, "I'm not gonna wear New Balance."
Yeah, with the lawn mowing shoes and stuff.
Yeah, right. That's back when you're, like, a little younger and you're caring about the important things, like, what logo am I gonna be
Right,
wearing?
exactly. Yeah. What am I? That's why you're gonna choose a school. So
Yeah, yeah. Alright, let me think of some other and then we'll get into some free agency stuff here,
okay.
talk about that, but I'm trying to think of some more funny stuff. Oh, this is a good one. This is actually kinda serious. Alright. If you had to build a team today around a quarterback who is either a rookie in this year's class or not one of the elite quarterbacks, so, like, no Rodgers, Mahomes, none of those guys, right? Like,
Yeah,
the best I'll give you is, like, Kirk Cousins.
that
Like,
was actually one of the guys that was gonna come to mind.
who are you
Um,
who are you building the team around? Who's your
I
guy?
okay, so I really don't like this draft class for QBs, so I'm not gonna go with any of them.
You're not repping
Um,
any QBs, are you? Like, we didn't just insult a client.
I am. So as of like the early round guys that you would think, I actually like my guy Cole
Okay,
Johnson a
okay, there
lot.
we go, there
So
we go.
he's projected like late, like 6 to PFA.
Okay,
We can get into him in a little bit, but yeah. So I'm thinking like the guys who are projected to go first or second. I think Malik Willis is like intriguing, but if I had to build a team, I'd probably get someone more established. I think he still has a lot of question marks. So I actually don't think. I think Cousins is. I think he's good enough to make plays for you if you surround, and then if you surround him with a talented supporting cast. So he might be the pick for kind of like a middle of the pack guy. Um, I don't know what you would consider Matt Ryan to be in these days. If he's
oh,
still
Ryan,
top 10 or if he's kind of on the outside of that,
that's a
looking
tough
in.
one. I think he's good. He's just a little older. I mean, if you want to
Yeah,
go, I don't know. I mean,
I guess, are we trying to win now or are we trying to build for
yeah, let's say we're building for the future. Like this is our
okay,
5 year.
I would I might take a gamble on Mayfield and see, I think he was looking good before the shoulder injury, assuming he can return to form, with a fresh um new scenery. I think he could probably get the job done. One guy I really like too is like Gardner Minshew. I think he's super
Yeah,
underrated. I think he's done well when given opportunities, and I think a team would rally around him. Plus, he'd be cheap, so I think you could build a huge supporting cast around a guy like that, and while he kind of works his way up.
yeah. I really like Minshew. Forgot about him.
Yeah, what are your who would you pick?
Yeah, okay. Let me think. Minshew's solid. I like the Minshew pick. I think right now the guy that comes to mind that just got signed, and it's funny wearing this hat, is Trubisky.
Yeah, he's got talent. I could see him doing something with just
Yeah,
a change of scenery, and seems like Buffalo really enjoyed having him.
yeah, and maybe even like Hurts. But I think about the two of them, and it's like if I could put them in that Josh Allen style offense where they get to use their legs more, but it's not
Hmm.
just them using their legs, and
Right.
then they can hit those like deep shots. I feel like that's kind of where they're like the best. Like when I think about Jalen, like he ran a lot at Oklahoma that one year,
Yeah. Yep.
and I thought he was great there. Same thing with Mitch. I think I didn't realize, but he can run a lot, and it's just
Yeah,
like
he's athletic.
yeah. And so it's like if I can put these guys in a system like that and let them use their legs a little bit, chuck it deep, maybe you get something. I don't know. Like I don't think they're that quintessential like drop back 50 times,
Right.
like 400-yard guys, but just like who can scrap out some wins. I think those are my guys. I
Yeah,
don't know.
they're tough guys. So I mean, that's if you can make some plays with your legs every game, it can make a
I
big
like Kenny
difference.
Pickett though. I like Kenny Pickett. If I think about rookies,
That's probably who I would probably go with him if I had to pick a rookie.
yeah,
If I was gonna like first round pick, that's probably who I would go. I do like Malik Willis, but I think Kenny's probably more consistent at this point. Just kind of depends what offense you want to run too. Because
yeah.
Willis, you're gonna have to use his legs. I mean, he's got a cannon of an arm, but
I think he's the better quarterback talent wise.
yeah, I think Pickett has a higher floor. I think
Yeah,
Willis has the higher ceiling.
yeah.
So
And I
seeing
think,
kind of
being a Notre Dame fan, seeing a lot of Pitt, like I just like what I see out of Kenny Pitt. He's a tough guy, makes the most out of it because Pitt's not like the blue chip.
I was going to say it's not an easy school to be successful at as a
Right.
quarterback, and it's been a while since I've had a pretty good one, and he really turned them around. So if you can do that there and play in the cold, that also
Yeah.
goes a long way, I think, for the NFL.
He's got small hands, man. Like,
Yeah.
so
So
has
do
there,
I, man.
let's do like a hypothetical, right? Like, let's say you're an agent, you got a guy like Kenny Pickett. People are saying he might go first round, but like you talk to a team and some GM's like, I don't know, man, he's got small hands. Like, what do you tell him? Do you try to convince him otherwise, or do you just say like, hey, somebody else is gonna pick him?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of someone else is going to take them, and now you're probably going to want to get like a comparison on other starting quarterbacks' hands that are similar size. I think Mike Vick had the exact same size hands as him, and so I know Vick played in a dome, so I don't know how well he did like stats wise when he
Yeah,
was outdoors. But that'd probably be something that I would try to get some data on just to back up, like, hey, this is why your opinion's wrong, without just saying that for verbatim. So I think just more data points you can have, but someone's going to take them regardless. So I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, look at what Joe Burrow. That was the same knock that he had coming out, and it worked out pretty well for him.
Do you remember that commercial? Like, I don't. It was like Burger King or something, where like
Yeah, the tiny hands. Yeah, it was weird.
couldn't hold the Whopper or whatever. His hands are. That's like,
Right.
yeah, that's Kenny Pickett like holding the football.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, if you can throw in the rain and snow at Pitt and cold, then
Yeah,
that's good enough. I mean, I know the NFL ball is a little bit bigger, but I don't know. He seemed to look pretty good at the combine throwing. Now I know that was indoors, but still, it's
yeah,
football's football.
I agree. All right, here's another. We'll start to get into the NFL stuff. All right, so people say the running back's dead in the NFL, right? Like it's just
Mhm.
the data says you can get production from a committee. You don't need to overpay a guy. You don't like.
Right.
Who do you think? I don't know. I'm sure there might be a team or whatever, but like, who do you think really proved like you really don't need a star running back? I feel like it was New England.
Yeah, that'd be. I think they prove you need a guy who's kind of multidimensional, and they've had like a couple of those. But yeah, you don't need like a workhorse back or anything like that. I agree with it. I think if you have a Derrick Henry or kind of a generational type back like that, where they're just head and shoulders above everyone else, I think in an instance like that, you pay them. But I don't think you pay, you know, top dollar just you're going to pay top dollar for a starting quarterback. Just that's how it is. I don't think you need to do that for a starting running back. Just have a starting running back, unless they just exceed, the norms on everything else, and they're such an outlier. Otherwise, I think get guys who can pass block and catch. Just have a committee, some guys who can do some different things, and because most of the time, a running back's not going to make or break it for you. It's a passing league, and if they can catch the ball, that's icing on the cake. But in my opinion, I kind of agree with that. It's not worth the dollar versus spreading it out to other positions.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you.
I think we've seen too many running backs too. Like Elliott and McCaffrey, and there's a whole list of others that sign that and get hurt or just aren't as quite productive, and it goes downhill. And they could spend that same money on two or three backs, and then there goes that's your running back quota, and then you have more money for your O line or quarterback or anyone else.
Yeah, versus tying it all up in one guy. Makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay. Yeah, I think I'd agree. I think New England's a good example. I'm trying to think of who else won a Super Bowl.
Or San Francisco had, a couple years where they had a good committee of backs, and, some guys would come in and like Raheem Mostert would come in and like balled out when he had his opportunity. And I think just having some guys.
Matt Breida is a guy I feel like I only know his name because of what he did in San Francisco. Like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
No, exactly. I think Seattle's done pretty well with that. Just not having like a top guy for after Marshawn was gone.
Yeah.
But they still had some success. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
Yeah,
but
who else is out there? Yeah, that's the thing. We didn't do any prep, but I kind of like it. Like,
right.
some shows I think just feel a little too scripted, a little too like we're hitting the notes.
Yeah. So I think just to kind of keep going in on the running backs a little bit. Like you had a guy like Saquon Barkley, who was he like fourth overall
Oh my
or
God,
give or
yeah.
take, and so he's instantly one of the top paid backs in the league. And in my opinion, I don't think you draft a running back in the first round unless it's just again
I mean, they regret it, right?
special talent, right? But then like Colts, you get a Jonathan Taylor in the second, and he made a case for the MVP this past year, but you're not paying. Second round money is way different than first round money, so it's still not. You're not completely breaking the bank in a case like that. So I think kind of in that second to fourth range, you can get a lot of really good running backs where, they 10 years ago, they would have been top 10 picks, or
Right.
top 15 picks, just
That
talent wise.
that reminds me of Kansas City, right? It's like you look at them; they were winning with this committee. I mean, not Tariq Hunt. What's his name?
Tyreek Hill or
No,
the
the running
receiver
back,
or
something.
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt. So I mean, he was a late round guy, right? That blew
Yeah.
up for them. So he wasn't like this high paid running back. And then they won with a committee. And then after winning with like
spent a first round pick on
on Edwards-Helaire, which
yeah.
I'm sure he's watching the show, so I think the world of him. But I don't know that it was the right pick, and I think they're kind of regretting
Right.
it now because you're not getting any value for what you drafted him
Well,
at.
yeah, exactly. No, I agree completely. It's just not worth the money in my opinion.
So who is outside of quarterback? What do you spend a first round pick on if you need something?
It's either left tackle or defensive end would probably be the next two logical choices. Um, I mean, I think if you receiver's a tough one. If there's a guy again who's just like a freak and a clear cut, going to be like a number one guy for a long time, you spend it. But otherwise, I think that's a position too that's kind of more dime a dozen where you can get so much value in the mid to late rounds. And so I would say, left tackle or even just offensive line or defensive line in general, end and tackle is going to be the two that are more prioritized. But, the game is won at the quarterback position in the trenches, and anything else, it's just, if you got a good guy, icing on the cake. But a good quarterback can make an average receiver look really good, and really good O line can make an average running back look really good.
What do you think about this latest trend of basically guys that played interior line needing to play like all three positions or at least two positions, right? Like, so if you play right guard, you should play left, and maybe you should play center too. I think it's a lot.
It is a lot. I think. I mean, from an agent's perspective, so I look at stuff a lot differently because I had to look at like, hey, is this guy going to maximize value or like an ROI if you're investing in their training and all of that stuff. So I have like a different mindset, I guess, going into it where I really want guys who have like track background. So every guy I recruit, I look up to see if, they're a lineman, do they do like shot put or disc, or were they a multi-sport athlete? Or, were they a long jumper or sprinter? If they're a skill guy, if they're an interior lineman, yeah, I would like a guy who could play, who guard or center, or even if he maybe played some guard and tackle, just so that you could be a backup or, in a swing situation like that. I think athleticism is becoming more and more of a premium in the NFL, especially even on the offensive line. That, if you have a stud at one of the guard positions or at center and, they're an early round guy, just a baller, I don't think it matters as much if they're versatile. But when you kind of start getting into those mid to late to free agent ranges, the more value you bring to the table, that's going to give you an opportunity over the guy next to you. So I think it's all kind of situational, in that perspective as well.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
you're out here. You got guys like trying to teach them how to snap the ball and become a center.
I think I think it's important for, if you are like either an interior guy or maybe an undersized, if you play tackle and you were undersized in college, even if you didn't play center, but start working on your snap so you can show that you can do it at pro day. If nothing else, I mean, a team may take a flyer on you if they think, hey, this guy might be intelligent and can move. Let's try and give him an opportunity at center or on the interior. So I think just being able to snap the ball is important, even if you haven't played the position.
I think you're right, and I think guys are. I saw something. I don't know who it was. Some guy at the Senior Bowl was basically like working on snapping. I think is a way to try to, improve his draft stock and go from there. I think it's important. I think obviously I wasn't good enough to play either, but if somebody would have told me, "Hey, learn how to snap the ball and you could make the NFL," I'd be out there trying to do it.
Well, and that's why you see a lot of like kids moving like in high school now, or even when they get to college, that might have been like linebackers, tight ends, start doing like long snapping because they may not have like as much of a future at their skill position, but there's still every college has scholarship long snappers, and every NFL team has a dedicated long snapper nowadays. Back in the day, it was just be your backup tight end or linebacker, and now it's its own position. So I think that's something that's really changed over the last probably decade or so as well.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I joke on Twitter a lot with like backup QBs like Chase Daniel or
Oh, he's got the best job in the world, man,
yeah,
in my
he's
opinion.
he's like the new Charlie Whitehurst if you remember that guy.
Yeah, yeah, from Clemson.
Yeah, so I'm just like
Yeah,
I gotta teach my kid like maybe make him lefty and just throw the ball a little bit, be a camp
yeah.
arm.
I think that, or like, I mean, punter and kick. I think punter's a better job than kicker, just less pressure on you. But yeah, backup quarterback. I mean, that's kind of the dream there.
Dream job. All right, I'm gonna pivot us into some football free agency, but there's one thing that I thought was a pretty good question, and I'll ask you this too. So, have you ever seen the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Okay, so let's pretend that you're stuck now in Groundhog Day,
Yeah.
but you get to pick the day, and the day you pick, your favorite sporting event is going to occur forever for the rest of your life. What do you pick? Is it like a Super Bowl? What are you going with?
So is this an event that's just on TV that I watch or that I'm attending?
Either or, either or.
Shit, man. Man, I love going to the Indy 500. I'm not a racing guy, but growing up in Indianapolis, it's a fun, you're partying in the infield and uh, several hundred thousand. I mean, it's the biggest sporting event in the world.
Yeah.
Several hundred thousand people there, so that's a good one. That might also be exhausting if I'm doing
Like by getting drunk every day for the rest of
getting
your
drunk
life.
in the infield. Yeah, getting sunburned. I'd say probably Super Bowl if I had to pick one. Yeah, but I mean, I think the Indy 500 would be a close second for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a? I would say if it was like a multi-day thing, the Final Four is always super exciting. But if I was a one day, I'd say Super Bowl one and then Indy 500 two for me. How about you?
I think for me it'd be the World Series. I think if I could pick a specific one, like
Like a Game 7 type
yeah,
deal,
like
or
I would want the White Sox to be in like a Game 7.
I'm a Cubs guy, man.
Oh man,
Yeah,
so
sorry about
we will not
that.
see each other on our Groundhog Day.
That's true.
uh, yeah, I mean they won. I would think like, oh man, '05. If I could go back in time and be there, that'd be cool. But that was a sweep. So like, I fully want like either like a 3-2 game 6 or a 3-3 game 7, White Sox at home. If that could happen, I'd wake up and do that every day.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I would not mind getting drunk every day for the rest of my life, dude.
Yeah. Let's get it out there early.
Yeah. All right. Here, I'm gonna try this thing. We'll see if it works. I can share my screen. I can share a tab. All right, here we go. Can you see that when I click share? Do you see anything?
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, so we'll run through the free agency. We got quarterbacks by position. I don't think I want to hit on all of them.
Yeah, it's
But
a lot.
yeah, but there's some guys out here that I'm curious. Like, let's get some thoughts on. Like this one, Joe Flacco, re-signed with the Jets.
Yeah, well, that's funny because like this past year, like I saw his name surface. I was like, I did not know he was even active in the NFL still. Like, I thought he was done, and saw like, oh, Joe Flacco was with the Jets. So that's a pretty good deal for him too. What is it?
3.5
Three and
million.
a half. Yeah,
Yeah. How do I?
not bad. Well, especially because like I don't know if well, I see Mike White listed. That's what my next question was is Mike White still around with them? But because Mike White did really well when he came in when Zach Wilson was injured.
Yeah, I'm trying to zoom in. I think a bit. Yeah, I like Mike White, Western Kentucky guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we're a little closer there. Trubisky, we know about. Teddy B, Tyrod Taylor. So I saw that one, and I like Tyrod. He was in Buffalo, but
I think he's a good like bridge quarterback, but I don't
yeah.
think he's your guy for the future.
Yeah, my tweet was like, he's gonna take the job from Daniel Jones. They're gonna win like 9 games, and then they're gonna draft a guy. Like I don't.
Right. I think he's a great number 2 or a great guy to kind of get you, over that hump maybe from like a
Yeah,
Daniel Jones. But yeah, I don't think he's a franchise leader, so to speak.
I agree. All right, let's talk about a name I see on here that is kind of standing out. So Cam Newton, is he done? Like I just feel like it's got to be the end of the road for him.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I think his body's been through a lot, and I don't think he had much help, last couple of years, and Carolina could have done more, in investing in their O line when he was there. But if I were him, yeah, I would hang it up, and I do think I'd be surprised if he gets another opportunity at this point, depending on what he's looking for. I mean, maybe if he's getting a minimum salary, just to come in and be a 2, I don't know if that's something he's willing to accept
Yeah, I think
now
he
at this
wants to
point
be a
or not.
starter. Yeah, I think that's the hard part, right?
I don't see him being a starter, going
Yeah.
forward anymore. David Blough's a guy that I really like as a backup, and he had a really big game on Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, and had been,
All right, yeah, tell me
that.
about David Blough, 'cause I'm like, "Who the hell is this?"
So yeah, he played at Purdue. So I mean, put up a bunch of yards there. Had a, he was part of that team that beat Ohio State when they were number 2, and I was at that game. It was awesome. I think that was 2018, I want to say, and good arm, smart guy. I think he's a really good number 2. He's like a Chase Daniel to me. I think he's a guy that can stick. He's intelligent, and he'd stuck for a couple of years with Detroit. So I think someone will pick him up, pretty soon.
Okay. Any other names here you wanna talk about? I might jump into running backs or wide
I was gonna
receivers.
say, I think just seeing Josh Rosen's name. I mean, I'm not surprised he's unsigned at this point, but I think I mean, pretty wild just the expectations that when he came into the league, and I don't think he was in a good situation with Arizona, but he also hadn't had that much of an opportunity ever since then. So again, I'm not there at the day-to-day practices to see how he's done. But it seemed like he had a lot of natural talent. I know he was smart kid, but also sometimes it was almost like a knock on him that he was like too intellectually curious to maybe a fault, without me, knowing him at all personally. But
Yeah.
yeah, just kind of surprised
Yeah, you
it
asked too
hasn't
many
panned out at
questions,
all.
Josh Rosen. You're asking
Yeah.
too many questions. Okay. All right, yeah, I agree. I think he's in the same category. I don't see him on here, but Dwayne Haskins, I saw the Steelers tendered him, and I just wonder, like, is it really over for him at 24 years old? But we'll see.
Yeah, I think you can still squeeze something out of him, but I think for him, it's maturity is the big thing, and I don't know, he's gonna have to want to change that.
Man, there's a lot of running backs here. I mean, this is basically
Yeah,
just a
there's a
lot of
lot of pretty good names on there too. So it's
yeah, which is tough. A guy whose name I saw that I want to talk about, and you're an Indiana guy, Marlon Mack. So he was supposed to be like a stud, I thought, when the Colts
mhm.
got him, and then he was in a lot of trade rumors. And now, I mean, it just looks like he's hit the open market. I mean, what?
Yeah, I mean, between Taylor kind of being your workhorse and then Naheem Hines, who's done really well too, kind of as they'll put him in the slot and then also, pass to him out of the backfield. It just didn't make sense to pay, a third guy, anything over the minimum, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, a lot of these guys, I probably don't want to spend a lot of time here because it's just committee guys. I do like this Dare Agunbowale, probably butchered that.
Oh,
Signed with
yeah.
the Houston Texans. I helped me win a playoff game in fantasy for, at the Jags. So happy for him there.
Yeah.
And
I see Duke Johnson, my former teammate,
yeah,
he ended up
Duke.
getting some good snaps this past year. So I think he'll surface somewhere else. But
Did
yeah,
you
it's a tough.
see? I saw he had like a petty tweet where Baker had some comment when he wanted to get traded about if you're not on the train, you got to get off,
Oh, yeah, I do remember
and then
that.
Duke apparently tweeted out a meme of like a train crashing last night when people were talking about Baker getting traded.
Oh, wow, I did not see that. That's hilarious. People don't forget stuff.
Was when you played? I mean, I don't know how well you knew him. Like, was he a jokester kind of guy, or is he like
He was really quiet.
okay?
He wasn't like, I mean, he was by far the best guy on our team, but he wasn't the leader, like the vocal type. He was just kind of like by example, like kept to himself. But yeah, he would joke around too, here and there, but kind of kept to himself a lot. But good guy and really
There
talented.
might be a lot of humor there. It may not just be angry.
Yeah.
I look at this. I mean, Allen Robinson. We're in the receivers now. Odell Beckham, Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, it sucks for Beckham.
Yeah,
Just started balling out, and then the ACL. I think they'll reward him though. I think he stays in LA. And T.Y. Hilton was a guy I liked watching a lot with the Colts, and started
yeah.
having some injuries and kind of downhill the last few years. And interesting to see if where he'll surface or what happens. But
A lot of
um,
Bears fans are really hoping for Juju Smith-Schuster to come to the Bears. What do you think about that?
I just hope he gets off TikTok. But, no, he's talented. I like him a lot. I mean, I think you can do a lot with him. Um, So yeah, I mean, there's the TikTok stuff rubs me the wrong way in general, but I think it'd be a good fit for him. I think just getting him a change of scenery as well, and Justin Fields needs some more talent around him to be able to throw to, and I think that'd be a good pick.
I agree with you. A guy, there's two names on this list I really like. Will Fuller, the fifth, which whatever on the fifth, but
Yeah,
I,
he's tough.
I loved him. He gets hurt a lot, but I thought he was awesome. And then Keelan Cole, I feel like had a year where he came on the scene and just has not been able to reproduce it.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think Valdez Scantling is pretty good too. He's made some plays with Green Bay. I'm surprised he's leaving, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah, people are talking highly about him, and the Bears are possibly looking at him.
sorry, I got a snoring dog next to me. If that's being picked up on the mic at all.
Oh, you're all good. I think once I started sharing this, my computer turned into like a jet, and took off.
Oh yeah,
I might have a little
no
noise.
worries. I
What do we got? Oh, you play with this guy at all? Braxton
Braxton,
Berrios?
yeah, man. It's fun. People used to like call me Braxton, like as a judge, just to like mess with me because we were like basically like same size for the most part, and came in at the same time. Good dude. I think he got in a good situation there. I know he got drafted by New England, and that was kind of always the joke, like, oh, he's going to be a Patriot one day, and ended up happening, and then got IR'd and released, and really came on well as a receiver the last, I think, 4, 5, 6 games, and it seemed like Zach Wilson really started to trust him, and was all pro as a returner this past year. So I think that's a good deal for him, where get some good money now, but not locked up too long. And I think once he kind of really establishes himself as a receiver, really probably this coming season, he'll be in for an even bigger deal in a year or two down the road.
Yeah, there's a lot.
One guy on there I also noticed, Laquan Treadwell was, I think he's from the Chicago. He might be from the Chicago area.
Yeah,
I
he
feel like.
is. He is.
So we played him in 7-on-7 my senior year, and he was probably the best player I've ever seen in my life. Just head and shoulders more talented and athletic than anyone. And he's a guy I was kind of surprised never really put it together either. Once he got to the league.
Yeah, yeah, he's from went to this high school called Crete Monet, which is
Yeah, they produce a lot of good players.
yeah. Looking through this, I mean, there's a lot of names here. Whoever this guy is, Olamides Zacchaeus.
Oh yeah, he played at Virginia. Yeah, he's done pretty well too.
I think he's got the best name of all. Maybe Ray McLeod. He might. Here's a guy as I'm getting to the bottom of this list, and actually
Tavon?
two guys.
Yeah.
No, not even Tavon Austin.
I was just
Maybe three guys now. Taj Sharp was supposed to be like the wide receiver one in Tennessee a few years ago.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it just feels like AJ Brown's there and clearly carved out a role, but it's just like, it's amazing how some of these guys go from being like future starting wide receiver to, I don't know.
You can lose it quickly, man. I think, and that's, the one position where I think athleticism matters a lot more. And, some guys kind of hit a cliff. And again, also, it's more of a dime a dozen position. So, if you're not producing, I think they have a lot shorter leash than maybe an O-line or another position where it's harder to find, good bodies, that you can kind of plug into those positions.
Yeah, I think we can see it in both of these lists with running back and wide receiver. There's a ton of guys here. And then, how many rookies are probably going to end up just taking some of these guys' spots?
Yeah, exactly. It's a turnstile, and there's always younger, cheaper talent coming out of the ranks.
Let's talk about one of my favorite players probably growing up. And I saw maybe I don't know if it was his old quarterback, Geno Smith, on the list as well. But Tavon Austin was like a human highlight.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he's got the best highlight tape I've ever seen. And so fun to watch too, and kind of did a little bit of everything at West Virginia, and had some decent years in the NFL too. And he still stuck around for quite a while, but, definitely wasn't what I think everyone thought he was going to be, when he was drafted so high.
He's a guy I'm surprised never ended up in New England. Is kind of like what Cordero Patterson is now, or what Dion Lewis was. Like,
yeah, it's kind of more of a gadget type, and just get the ball in his hands. And
yeah, but again, he was probably really expensive given where he was taken.
Yeah, so there's always a trade off with that for sure.
And my last guy I want to talk about here is Zach Pascal. Is he coming back to the Colts?
I don't know. I haven't been hearing many rumors out of Indy, honestly. They've been pretty quiet in free agency so far. And, they just made a trade today, or today or yesterday, but haven't really been hearing much smoke. Or just kind of quarterback is, I think, the main thing that's on everyone's mind, with Indy.
Yeah. All right, moving into the tight ends, I'm just running through these. Let me know if any names jump out to you. The one that pops out to me, I think, is O.J. Howard, leaving Tampa, going to the Bills on a one-year deal. He was another guy coming out who was a stud athlete. I thought would have played for a while.
Yeah, hadn't quite put it together, and then it's tough when you got a guy like Gronkowski come in and kind of take over, which rightfully so. But no, I think that'll be a good spot for him and can really entrench himself as Buffalo's had some good tight ends, but if they've kind of had like a committee approach to at that position, I think he could really establish himself as the top dog there. I think Chris Herndon's a guy I really like. I played with him as well.
Shouting out all you guys here.
Yeah, I know he had a couple of good seasons with the Jets before moving on to Minnesota. And then Mo Alley Cox is a player, with Indy that I like too. Jack Doyle just retired, and so Mo Alley is definitely going to be the main focus for them going forward, and got himself a pretty nice contract.
Yeah. Next, you're going to tell me I also like David Njoku, KJ Osborne.
I almost talked about Njoku. Another guy I see on there is Robert Tonyan, Indiana State, and he really made some plays the last 2 years with in Green Bay. I think he should get a pretty good contract too this year. And I know Rodgers really started to trust him like him, so be surprised if he moves on. But
yeah, all right, we'll do. If you got a couple more tight ends, we can do that, and then I'll wrap. I want to do some chips drafting here, or I don't know if you're a fan of chips.
I'm not familiar with chips.
Like potato chips.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like some acronym or something.
No. We're getting real sophisticated. We're gonna draft. We're gonna do like a 3-round chip draft.
Okay.
All right. So Eric Ebron is a guy too. Never popped. Had a lot of issues with drops.
Yeah.
First-round pick.
It's tough, man. You have all the athleticism in the world, and it's hard to improve your hands after a certain age. That hand-eye coordination is, really developed as a kid. And, once you're at a certain level, I mean, you can improve everything a little bit, but it's hard to an extent. And that was always his issue. And, I know we were super excited to get him in Indy and didn't really live up to the hype either, when he came in. And,
yeah, did he start there? He started in Indy, right?
He started for a bit and then, kind of got passed up by Doyle, and Mo Alley Cox started to take over.
Yeah, which, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, he was there with Andrew Luck, right? So it's like one of the best times to be there.
I think he was, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's kind of all a blur at this point.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Let's see, any other name? No one else really sticking out to you. I mean, Jimmy Graham's, you're a Chicago guy and made some plays for you guys up there. But yeah, I think he's probably time to hang up the cleats pretty soon.
Yeah. All right, so we'll do next week. We'll do some of these other positions. We'll talk O-line. I'm sure people will be stoked about that.
Yeah.
I think the O-line's super boring, so I can't wait to spend an hour talking about it.
Right.
And we'll get into the defense, but we'll wrap up with the chips. So I'm a big potato chips guy.
Okay, good.
Former defensive lineman, so I eat a lot of.
Yeah, you had a.
Yeah. Probably not eating the best food, but all right, if we're doing a first-round pick for chips, and I don't know if you're as much of a chip guy as me, I think I'm going with, those like Fritos, like they're like the curly ones, the honey barbecue.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of those, man.
Oh,
really? Yeah, I like Fritos in general, and the chili cheese ones I think are fire.
Those are also great.
I'm not like a honey guy in general, or like sweet when it comes to chips.
I'm overdrafting the honey barbecue.
I think so, man. I think you just blew your first round pick. We got a rookie GM here.
It's the running back of chips. What are you going with? If
I'm going to go
picking chips.
The lime flaming hots. So Cheetos, the Flamin' Hot Cheetos, but like the lemon and the lime ones.
Okay. I've
Yeah,
never had those.
they're good. I mean, I love just the regular ones too, regular Flamin' Hots, but the lime makes it, yeah, just that
I
much
might have
better.
to hit up a gas station after this.
Yeah.
All right, all right, all right. Second round pick. I'm going with the small school guy that people may not have heard of. I live in Maryland. Utz makes a really good honey barbecue chip. I'm sticking
So
with the
yeah, we
honey
got a theme
barbecue.
there. Man, I'm not. Yeah, I haven't heard of the brand, so I can't really speak on them. I probably would go with those chili cheese Fritos. Would be my
Okay,
next choice. Yeah, I mean, I think not something you want to have all the time, but when you do have it, it really hits the spot every time.
they are great. They are great. Yeah, man. I'm one of those teams. Like I just draft guys from the same school. I'm drafting everybody from the honey barbecue
Yeah,
school.
if that's what you're comfortable with, man, you know what you're getting out of them.
I'm gonna take a pivot here on this one. My third round pick, and this will be the last pick. I'm going with these Doritos. I don't know what they're called. My wife would know. They're in like the purple bag. Let me Google purple
Is it
Doritos.
like sweet and spicy or something?
Watch it.
Or
Yeah, spicy sweet chili,
okay, I'm
spicy
close.
sweet honey barbecue. No, I'm kidding. So I think those are my third. I like those. The problem with those too, similar to the chili cheese, why I take them in the third round, is like I eat too many of them, and I
Yeah.
feel like I've lost some of the taste buds on my tongue. Like they're just so like,
Yeah, there's definitely some foods that do that, kind of just like,
yeah,
you know, makes you think like, "Hey, what is in this that's not good for me,
yeah.
man?"
You don't want to think about that too long. You're
Yeah,
just like,
that's true.
give me more. Uh,
Um,
yeah,
man,
I'll find out later that this is like some crazy chemical.
I
Um,
would say I really like the, shit, I'm gonna blank on, like it's like the ruffle, like the cheddar, and I think it's cheddar and sour cream,
oh,
if I'm not
the
or
orange
the orange
ruffles.
one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
orange and blue bag, yeah, the ruffles are the
Okay,
one.
but here's a question for you going ruffles. Are you going the baked or are you going original?
I do like the baked, but I'll go with original. You know, if I'm gonna have it like one time, we'll go with original. But if it's something if it's a Groundhog's Day scenario where I'm eating it every day, then I'll maybe stick with the baked. But I think the baked ones are like I liked all their baked ones. I think those are pretty underrated.
I love it. I love it. All right, well we're gonna wrap. I think you're underestimating the power of the honey barbecue chip here.
I'll give it another shot and see if I've matured in my taste buds a little bit since the last
Yeah, I
time.
mean they're definitely not the Eric Ebron of chips. They're a little better. But yeah, man, why don't you shout out your Twitter handle, and we'll kind of wrap it. And I'm sure we've got thousands of fans that can't wait for next week.
Yeah. Yeah, so Twitter's A Fenny. It's APFENNY. So yeah, follow me there if you want to. I'll follow back and appreciate the few people that might be listening this week.
Dude,
So excited to be kicking this off with you.
me too. I'm gonna throw my Twitter handle here on the screen too. It's at Nate_Atkins 3. Not as easy as AP Fenny, but there's a lot of Nate Atkins out there, man. I don't know.
That's true. There's
They beat me
not too
to
many Austin Pfenningers out there, so it's a
that's
little
right.
easier.
The one and only. Yeah, all these Nates, they beat me to the punch, but dude, I'm excited to kick this off with you. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. I think people are gonna like what we're doing. Actually, I probably know people are gonna like what we're doing.
Mhm.
And yeah, next time we can talk about your quarterback prospect, or maybe we'll save it for once you get
Yeah, we could talk a little
drafted.
bit more about like draft prospect or process, and
Yeah,
anyone who is listening, if they want to send in some questions for us or topics they'd like us to cover, I think that make our job easier and give us some material to work with. So.
oh yeah. Actually, let's do that next week when we get together. We'll talk free agents. But let's talk draft process. Let's talk about whether it's what you've experienced, what you saw some of your teammates experience, what you go through with clients. Let's kind of talk about that because I know that's got to be a stressful thing, but also a really exciting thing for a lot of
Yeah,
guys.
yeah, definitely a double-edged sword with that, but yeah, happy to talk about it.
Awesome, Austin. Well, take care. It's good to chat with you, man, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good. Yeah, take it easy, Nick.
Later.